This is going to be a little bit of a different video. It is Friday night. It's 8 p.m. I was about to call it a day, and I started stamping this card, and I'm like, OMG, I have got to make a video right now, tonight, and get this up here so that everybody can make one of these cards and get the Darling Donkey stamp set if you don't already have it, because our celebration promotion ends on Sunday, and this is the feature stamp set for this most adorable card that you're gonna love, because I'm flipping out over it. I mean, obviously, it's 8 o'clock at night and I'm like setting everything up so I can film this for you, so I can have it up on Saturday. I got my vino, I got some chips, I got some popcorn happening. So it's gonna be a fun little evening in my stamp studio. I cannot wait to show you this card. It is so stinking adorable. I could not wait to film this card tomorrow. I had to do it tonight. So, are you ready? It's featuring a spotlight technique in a little bit of a different way than maybe what you've seen before, because it's different than how I've seen it before, and I was inspired by a card created by Angela Waters, and Angela is a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the States. And then I started thinking I can use the Darling Donkeys on this card, and it is so cute. So, let's start stamping. Okay, friends, you're gonna have to excuse the lighting because I am filming at nighttime, which is not the best time for filming when I don't have my natural light from the window. But like I said, I have to get this video done to share it with you ASAP because it's just that cute. So here is the Darling Donkey stamp set, free with a qualifying order, and here in Canada that is a $60 order. You can choose this stamp set as your celebration reward, and this ends on February 28th, 2021. So we're Friday today. That means after Sunday you can no longer get this adorable stamp set or any of our other celebration items for that matter. Okay, so I am bringing a piece of our grid sheet from Stampin' Up! And I have also a piece of computer paper that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this around and I'm going to line this up. And I'm going to mark it at the 2-inch mark. And these grid sheets, by the way, you can get them. They're in our catalog and they're wonderful. So I'm lining up my ruler along that 2-inch line. I'm going to draw a line with my pencil. Now that I've got that line, I'm going to mark at 3/4 of an inch and 3 1/4. So at 3 1/4 and at 3/4 of an inch. Now what I'm going to do is take my ruler and line it up with the tip at the 2-inch mark down to that 3/4 inch mark and just draw a line. Just like that. And do the same thing here. And what I'm doing is I'm creating my mask to create the spotlight. And you're going to want to take into account the size of the stamp that you're going to be using on your spotlight card, because that will determine the width that you need down here. So when I was looking at this stamp, knowing that this is a stamp that I wanted to use on this card, I knew that I needed to make sure I had enough width for the spotlight. Okay, so I'm bringing in my Stampin' Trimmer and I'm just going to line up that tip in our groove right here and that 3/4 mark down here, and just cut. And then do the same thing here. Line up that 2-inch mark to that groove and that 3/4 inch mark to the groove and cut. Okay, you don't want to throw anything away because these are going to be your masks. Okay, and you can use them over and over again. So if you want to use a heavier cardstock so you've got them so they're a little bit more durable, you can do that, but I just use computer paper. So keep all your pieces. Next, you're gonna need a piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 5 1/4. I'm just gonna cut that down. Okay. Okay, so there's my cardstock. Okay, and I'm gonna be using Pretty Peacock and Old Olive ink because I know that this is the ribbon I'm going to be using. You want to make sure you have ribbon that coordinates with your card. So I chose my ribbon first and then picked my ink pads to coordinate. So this is Pretty Peacock and Old Olive. So I'm gonna set that aside. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to add color on the sides because that is going to be the curtains, the theater curtains. And I am using our fabulous new blending brushes. And these just clean right underneath the tap and then you set them aside to dry. They're fabulous. So I'm just gonna use one. I'm gonna start with the Pretty Peacock. I've got my first mask in the middle. This is going to be the spotlight. These two ends here, they're gonna be the theater curtains. So I'm just going to start putting on my ink, and I don't want this to be too light. I want this to be a little bit on the dark side. So I'm not worrying about any, you know, I don't want to say blobs, but I'm not worrying about where it's a little bit darker or a little bit lighter because I'm going to go on top with more of the Pretty Peacock as well as the Old Olive ink. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in the Old Olive, and I'm just going to use the same blending brush. And you just keep working it until you get what you want. Now I'm going back into my Pretty Peacock. Now for me, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to spin this around and work on the opposite side. So I'm just going to put that back into place and do the exact same thing that I just did. That's it for those two colors, and when you move this, this is going to be your spotlight. So these are your two, your theater curtains. So next I'm going to come in with my So Saffron, and this time I'm going to bring those end pieces in and put them down. And the other thing I'm going to do, and I'm just going to use a piece of basic white for this, is our double oval punch. I want to cut out this smaller oval right here. So I'm just going to use our basic white cardstock, because that punches better than the computer paper would, unless you used a couple pieces of computer paper. So now if you want to, you could put a little bit of our liquid glue on and set it aside to dry, and it would become tacky and repositionable. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and put my oval right down. This is going to be like the spotlight. So I'm going to put that down there. I have ink on my fingers. And now I'm going to bring in my other blending brush and go into So Saffron. All right, into the ink. I'm going to work on one side first. Actually, let's just move that all together over. I'm not going all the way down because I'm going to have crumb cake, which is going to be like the floor. So I'm going to hold that down a little bit. And yes, there's probably an easier way, but I just wanted to get this video done so I can have it up on my channel for you guys right away. But ordinarily I would use a post-it note, or I would add that liquid glue so that I don't have to hold these down. But this works too. Okay, slip this around, put this one in place, pick up some more saffron. Okay, now I'm going to spin this around. This is where you got to be a little bit more careful. Okay, I've got my oval here. So here's what I'm going to do. Pick up some more ink. Hold all of those down. I'm just going right across, and I'm leaving this bottom part alone. Now I'm gonna take my crumb cake and create the floor. So I have my other blending brush. So these blending brushes come in sets of 3 and they just wash up so easily. I absolutely love them. So I'm putting this back into place. So I'm holding all my pieces down and now I'm just going right across. We now have our spotlight and the floor and the curtains. So I want to add some texture to the curtains. Okay, so to add the texture, I have the Metal Moments embossing folders. Now, when I first saw Angela's card in which she used the Hey Chick stamp set, I pretty much bought everything she used on her card. I'm sure you guys can relate to that because I did not have these embossing folders, and boy am I ever glad I got them. They are so pretty. I did not get the birthday Hey Chick stamp set, but it's not to say I won't get it, but I did get these embossing folders and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to use this one with the leaves just on one side because one has leaves and flowers and butterflies, which is beautiful, but I'm going to use just the leaves. So as I always like to say, bumps on bottom, because that's the part that's going to be raised. So you want the bumps on the bottom, the raised bit. This is the indented part. So I want the raised bit, the bumps on bottom behind this, and I'm just lining it up right across. Now this is not going to fit properly here because when you put it in, this little bit's going to bend. But if you turn it this way, it will work. See, that will fit on there just right. So I'm going to put on my plate and run that through. And then look at that beautiful texture. So now I have gorgeous curtains. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're going to do that to the other side now. So again, just take a little feel for the bumps on bottom. And I'm going to turn it this way. So put it like that. Down. And run it through. Now I have all that beautiful texture. So fun. I am using an old olive piece of cardstock for my card base. So this measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4, and I'm just taking my bone folder and getting a good crease. And then I'm going to take my liquid glue and put this on the front of the card. This is so much fun spending my Friday night with you guys, even though you're not technically in my room. I don't often film on Friday nights, but I really wanted to get this out to you guys. Next step is the donkey. I will come back to this in a bit. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this donkey right here. This one would be adorable. They'd all be adorable. What's not adorable about this stamp set? But I want to use the one with the rose. So I'm just going to stamp my donkey with black memento ink because I'm going to color it with my Stampin' Blend markers. Stamp them down. Okay, so I'm going to use my Smoky Slate Stampin' Blend markers. So I'm going to start with my light. If you're using Stampin' Blend markers, or if you've never used them before, you want to stamp your outline image in black memento ink pad so that your markers don't bleed. And it's also good to try not to go too close to the edge as well of your image. Try to stay a little bit inside your image. So now I'm going to go in with my dark Smoky Slate. I want to do his little fur on his head. And I'm going to do a little bit here. And the hoofs. And let's just go around his head a little bit. In fact, I'm going to do his whole head and then I'll show you what I'm going to do there. His tail. and some more of the light and just blend that in a bit. Now I'm taking the color lifter and I'm just going to go in little circles all around and on his head, and this actually literally lifts the marker or moves the marker and blends it all together really, really nicely. Okay, now I'm coming in with my light petal pink. I'm just gonna do the mouth and inside the ears. I'm going to take the dark petal pink, add a little bit of that. Now I'm taking a little bit of my dark Rococo Rose. I'm so in love with Rococo Rose. I'm just going to color in the whole rose here. And then I'm going to come in with some of my dark Real Red. I'm just going to go up near the top of the rose and down on the side. Now I'm taking my light Old Olive and I'm going to do the stem and the leaf. Isn't that adorable? So cute. I love these donkeys. It's going to be so sad when they're gone forever. So now I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm just going to fussy cut this donkey out, which is not difficult to do. And I'm just going to start around his tail and just work my way around. Before I put the donkey on the card, I am going to add some of our lace ribbon. So this is 10 inches of our lace ribbon. So I'm just going to fold it in half so that I can cut it in half. And then I'm going to take our liquid glue and just add a very tiny bit right up this edge and also on this edge. And this was one of those epiphany moments when I was making this card. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this video. It's so cute. The lace really adds that fun texture and that little something something. So you're just gonna add that right onto your card. Line it up with your bottom part because there's going to be a ribbon up here. So if your lace is not quite long enough, make sure it lines up down here because you can cover it up at the top. Okay, now this side. Let's see. So now we have our lace curtain. Oh my goodness. So now I'm going to take a piece of tear and tape adhesive, just cut a little bit off, put it right across the top, and actually I have a little bit of lace there that I don't want. So I'm just going to trim that off. There we go. Okay. And then add my ribbon. I love this ribbon. So that goes right there like that. And then the donkey gets put on with Stampin' Dimensionals. Look at that. Oh my goodness, tell me that's not adorable. So I'm going to add a little bit of glue on 3 of his feet. And just push that down. And then this last one, I just want that popped up a little bit. So I'm just going to cut this dimensional. And just put it under this little foot here. Give it some extra dimension. And then you know I love my champagne shimmer mist. So I have my shimmer mist paint mixed in a bottle with 70% rubbing alcohol. So this is gonna get a spritz. Give it some shimmer glimmer. I'm gonna bring in my Stamparatus. Set that down here. And for the sentiment, I am using the You Are Amazing stamp set. Now this was the feature stamp set in my February card class, and all the kids were mailed out yesterday with all of the supplies, and last night 3 of my friends came over and we put our cards together. Such a fun time. This is such a great stamp set, and it comes with a project kit as well, but I'm really enjoying this stamp set. So I'm going to use the Hip Hip Hooray 3 Cheers for You. So I'm just gonna set that down kind of near the top, not right in the center. And I want to pull out some of the colors that I used on the rose. So I'm gonna bring in my Rococo Rose ink pad. And it's always good to have a stamp set underneath the plate just to kind of secure it in place. So I'm just inking that up and stamp it down. Now I'm gonna bring in my Poppy Parade ink pad. You can also use a marker, but I want to pull in some of that Poppy Parade. So I'm just gonna tap it. See how I'm just kind of like dabbing it on, not really being too particular where it goes, and stamp again. So now I'm pulling in some of that Poppy Parade into my image. So cool. Now I'm bringing in the You Are Amazing stamp, and I'm just gonna put that right here. You can see I already, like I didn't clean it last time I used it. That's okay. So ink it up with my Old Olive. Ink it up again. And then I'm gonna bring in my Pretty Peacock. So I'm using all of the colors that I used on the front of the card. And I've just decided I'm going to bring in the stars. Why not? And pull in some of that So Saffron. And there's my finished card. Is that not adorable? And if you don't already have this Darling Donkey stamp set, you really need to get it before the 28th of the month. So this is the first card I made, which is pretty much the same, except I used the other embossing folder that came in this set because 2 of them come together. And then the one I made first was using the Hey Chick stamp set. And the card that Angela made that inspired me to try this spotlight technique used the Happy Birthday Hey Chick stamp set, which I don't have, and it was absolutely adorable. So I will have her card and her tutorial on my blog, and the link will be in the description below. So I just love this card. So I hope you give this a try, have a lot of fun with this technique. Of course, you can use any image. It doesn't have to be the donkey. Look at your stamp sets and see what you have, but this does make a great card. If you enjoyed today's video, I encourage you to hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it so you're notified every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch. I appreciate you. Have a great day, stay well, and happy stamping.